Once upon a time there lived a man who was frustrated, resentful, and always feeling bad, self-pity, etc. He tried all business suggested to him by friends, relatives, but all failed. He shook his head in a slough of despair. He didn't know what to do, he begged for money seldomly. He had just enough to feed his mouth. He was deep in sorrow and never knew the way forward. "Should I try more?" he said to himself. But there was something obscure this man made and kept under his drawer. He hid it there and even forgot there was something there. So, as life went on, there was a day a very wealthy man from a very wealthy family came somewhere quite far from his house. He noticed something was happening by the sounds and squabblings of people. "Maybe he is well respected and well known," he said, as he looked at the scene. He just went back to where he was interrogating himself. Meanwhile, people out there were trying to conjure up some things to please this man because he would do you favor if you could impress him. As the noise amplified outside his house, he decided to go take a look. He went outside and plowed his way to the scene. He was asked to provide something to see if the wealthy man would like it. He was discouraged and went back home. That day passed and he went to a petty job which earned him a little money. He worked hard there and could survive with the little money he earned. He was promoted once and his salary increased a bit. He worked almost every day until he fell sick. He had to stop working for that period. He was diagnosed with atherosclerosis, so it was advised to rest, and this is called convalescing. Every day he had to take his drugs as prescribed by the doctor. His home doctor would come at times to run some minor test for him. He survived with the money he had worked hard to get. He was alone in his house. The weather was welcoming and the temperature was mild that day, so he decided to go take a nap. He had already rested earlier, so he could not even close his eyes for 5 minutes, let alone 30 minutes. He got up from his bed and sat close to his table. There was a book empty on the table. He put his hands into his pocket and just decided he would write. He put pen to paper and started with his own story. He put down everything he had gone through and was so happy doing this. He enjoyed himself writing down things about himself. He wrote and got up, got a cup of coffee and continued. He wrote for roughly 5 hours. He named the book, My Story. He kept this book in a special place he could easily recall. He rested and slept off. The next day, the doctor came visiting as always to give him his drugs and also analyze the internal progress taking place in his vessels. There was rapid improvement, so he was medically cleared to resume work. He got back to work and decided he would write something down about his day every day. He did, and it added up to a lot of pages in a pretty short time. He decided to try publishing his first ever written book. He did and gave it out to some of his friends and others for free. He just enjoyed writing every time he put pen to paper. After some time, this man started getting feedbacks that the book he wrote casually had prevented someone from committing suicide. He was astonished and petrified when he heard the news. It was a young guy who got the book from his friend who bought it. He said to himself, "Why my book? Are there not books written by Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins, etc.? Why and how come my book prevented someone from taking his life? I thought Eric Thomas and the other guys have written all the books. I was wrong." He then wrote more and more books because first book went public because of the guy it prevented from committing suicide. He then began to value his gifts and talents. This is the end of this story. Even has what to learn from this. You can comment down below what you got, maybe it can change someone's life.